it's actually next to impossible to create something new. Because everything's kind of already been done. It's hard to not sound like something else. You can think you've got something really original, and then someone will be like, oh, it sounds like this, and you'll listen and you're like, fuck.
Bobbie, thank you so much for your time today, Miss Dazzle herself. Your album came out a few days ago, as we're talking. Does that mean that I have a very different person in front of me right now versus interviewing you 2 days before the release? Are you a little bit more calmer now, or what's that like?
So calm is not the word. I'm very excited. It's been overwhelming in the best way. But not calm. I'm like a firework right now, just like so many emotions going off, but all positive.
Good. What was Friday like for you? Because the actual album release show is still coming. What was Friday like? Just a lot of being on social media and having to respond to messages and emails?
Yeah, exactly that. So obviously it was just everything going out and just feedback from lots of people, and just it was a lot of like directing people where to go to be able to hear the record or buy the record if they wanted to. So, yeah, it literally just all day just staring at my screen, but you have to do these things.
The magic of rock and roll.
I know, right?
Did you get a chance to celebrate a little bit though?
By the time the evening had come, I had a glass of wine, but I didn't go out because I knew even the next day I still needed to kind of like, it never stops. It never stops. It's a constant, admin.
Yeah. For sure. Now, so I mentioned before, there is an actual album release show coming, and that is also and I think that's November 8th, I believe.
So quite from the release, but gives me time to make sure. Well, I'm glad I did that actually, because the pressing plant has had a delay, so I don't actually have any physicals to sell yet. So by the time that rolls around, it'll be fine.
Yeah. And that's also the start of a string of shows that you're doing. So for these shows, for the album release show specifically, maybe what should we expect?
So for the album release show, the album will be played in full, in the order that it is on the album. I'm going to have guest musicians because I don't have a set band. The songs are mine, and I had a couple of collaborators, and I'm lucky enough that those people can come and sing the parts that they sang or play the guitar parts. So lots of interchangeable things. So that's really rare, because I can't take everyone I want to on a tour to be able to do this. So this show in particular is going to be really special because I get to involve everyone that helped me create the album.
Bobbie Dazzle, it is your solo project. So we should really look at it that way, not as a name band.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Now, I obviously know, your previous life, if you will, where we saw you as a singer of a band. I remember you, sharing in an interview a couple of years ago that you've had your fair share of, moments where, as a female singer of a doom or a stoner or whatever we should call that scene was that, there's a lot of attention that comes your way. Now, as a solo artist, there's only one way the attention can come, which is you. There's nowhere to hide, if you will. Was that, at the start of this journey, which obviously started some time ago, was that something that was like in the back of your mind? Like, was that a little bit of a concern?
No, because I'm so used to it at this point. So I know how to manage the negative sides of it, the positive side of it. But I needed to create something which was exactly what I wanted to do and of my own. So I think if there is any negativity that comes from it, it's a little bit easier to deal with because this is completely passion project, so it's easier to brush those things off because it's something that I really, really want to be doing.
What has, like, in your perspective, because obviously the bands that you cite as your inspirations, you heard those at home from your parents. You were not alive in the 60s,
Yeah.
or the 70s, or the 80s. But this music has always kind of like remained cool and somewhat popular, but in the last decade that seems to have really like exploded again. Like, what's your take on why that music never really went away, but now it's all of a sudden so popular again?
I think at the time when it came out, it was a breakthrough in the kind of music that there was. You know, rock and roll was created, heavy metal was created. So there's something to honor always from that time period. And even as a musician now, it's actually next to impossible to create something new. Because everything's kind of already been done. It's hard to not sound like something else. You can think you've got something really original, and then someone will be like, oh, it sounds like this, and you'll listen and you're like, fuck. It's hard to create something which is completely unique. So I don't think there's anything negative about taking inspiration and paying homage to amazing music that inspires you, and maybe sprinkling some kind of modern side to it, whether that be the production or singing lyrically about something more relevant now. So it's about, for me, intertwining all of those things, because I really feel the best music did come out of that time. For me. And I think many people will agree.
Yeah. So when the lesson is, when somebody tells you like, oh yeah, on that song I love your little nod to Led Zeppelin there, you just go like, yeah, that's exactly what I was going for.
Totally.
Yeah, it's you know, the emotions and what have you, and that a lot of people will relate to, but there's a deep personal meaning behind a lot of this material for you. Because I mean, I was joking earlier, like, well, a lot of these bands go for, you know, satanic rituals and what ceremonies and what have you. It was not just wanting to step away from that. I think you shared in press materials that stuff that was much closer to home made you feel like I needed to change from all of that.
Yeah. So last year, I unfortunately lost my sister. And I'm so used to, you know, we all have trauma in life. And so often I've, you know, sat in this dark place, or, you know, with being in Aluna creatively, it was darker music. And I was dreading doing that again. I really wanted to remind myself that, like, life has joy, life has fun, even though, because unfortunately in life we have to lose people we love. You know, everyone has to go through it, and it's tough and it's sad. So we have to remind ourselves of the positive parts of life, the bits that get us excited. And when it came to creating, I thought, well, when I want to cheer myself up, or when I'm feeling really good and I listen to glam rock music or prog rock music, this always lifts me up. So why am I not creating this? If I'm loving listening to it and I enjoy it so much, why am I not creating it myself? So I decided to take myself out of this dark space and create the happiest album of 2020.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a lot of fun in here. There's a lot of energy. You say, like, you know, creating it myself, but you got maybe a little bit of help as well, because there's a special story to the opening track, which is one of my favorite songs in the album, Lightning Fantasy, which kicks off with like the right amount of energy to kind of set the stage on what's to come. But I'd love for you to share the story where that inspiration came from.
Yeah, so after my sister had passed away, obviously you have to do the horrible things like clearing out their possessions. Now, my father, my sister's father, he passed away over 20 years ago, 2003. And she'd taken some of his things that I didn't know she had. She'd been hoarding those. And in her loft was his record collection. So as I was looking through these, I took them home and obviously started playing them. There was a Bob Dylan record, opened that up, and all these pieces of paper fell out. And I looked at them and just, I was bawling. I was crying so much because I was so happy. You know, someone passing away 20 years ago and then you discover something of theirs that you never knew existed is so rare. but they were lyrics that my dad had written when he must have been a teenager. He must have been about 17 or 18. And my dad was a big glam rock fan. He loved like Iggy Pop, the New York Dolls, the more American side. So yeah, as I was looking through them, I just started Bobbie Dazzle, and it felt like this really weird sign from him being like,
Right.
of you, here's some help. So yeah, the opener on my album, Lightning Fantasy, are lyrics written by my father.
It all of a sudden is, I don't know how you feel about this, but like it all of a sudden it goes pretty fast. You know, you've got the support of Rise Above Records. It's a really cool record label, perfect fit for your album, obviously. Does it, with all the work you've put into this career, like for a long time, and now you make this change, and all of a sudden you get the support of them, and people are reacting really well to the album? Does it kind of feel like, well, it's an overnight success 10 years in the making in a way? Like, it's like, don't forget that I've been working hard at this for much longer than just the last few months.
Yeah, because obviously I only started Bobbie Dazzle, like I did my first show only a year ago.
Right.
So in a year I've recorded an album, I've been signed to a record label. It's overwhelming. But yeah, I do feel like I deserve it because I worked hard, and this is a really good album, and we perfect our craft over so many years, and I'm not saying it's perfect. There's lots of things that I want to do, but I've got to a point now where I can be really confident about what I'm putting out, and I'm also not doing it for anyone else. It's all for me. So I'm also in the mindset of, if anyone wants to come along for the ride, they are more than welcome. But if it's also not for them, that's fine. And I understand that being from a doom band, this big change might not be for everyone. But I'm shifting away from that scene, obviously, as well. And discovering new fans that are into different musics, new scenes that I can play in. So it's so exciting for me. It's also different. But clearly people do like it because it was only one day and my vinyl all sold out.
Exactly. And now, is it also based on the reactions that you're getting now, not just on the singles, but now that the full album is out, compared to, and there's no disrespect to your previous band, obviously, but the music you make now might be on a personal or a human level more easily relatable for fans, whether they are heavy metal or pop fans, doesn't really matter. But do you see a different reaction from people that way?
Yeah, I think it's more accessible, and I'm noticing there's a huge gap in the age of people that are enjoying this. There's young girls that are like getting into like vintage fashion, and along with that comes the music. And obviously, I'm wearing cat suits and platform boots, so that's something for them. Then it's also for the older gentlemen that enjoyed watching like Suzi Quatro, and people that like heavy rock. It's for people who like ABBA. It's for people who like Queen. These were mainstream bands that everyone still even listens to now. They hear it now, so they can relate to it. Whereas obviously stoner rock, doom, more underground. It's kind of an oversaturated genre now too. Whereas no one's really doing the glam rock thing now so much. So I'm hoping there will be a revival of it, and there will be more of a scene for it. It'd be really nice to see that.
So as you are building towards, global redomination of glam rock, we've got a good amount of shows announced for November. We've got the album out now. So what's next then? Because obviously you didn't write these songs yesterday. So what are you already working on? What should we expect to see you play more in 2025?
Yeah, so I've had to stop myself from writing currently because I got like ideas falling out of my head. Like I want to do so much more, but actually I need to tour and promote this current album before I run on to the next one. So next year I'm heading over to Scandinavia and Germany, and I'm going to do a tour over there. I've got lots of festivals in the UK. So yeah, I'm just going to be out there spreading the glitz and the glam across Europe. And then I think the year after that, because I'm trying to do like a 5-year plan, we're going to try and head over your way, and you take it over the pond. So yeah, just I really want to be able to perform this album live as much as possible, really. Get people excited, because it's nice. It's really nice seeing crowds like have crowd participation in my music too, because there's a lot of hand claps, there's a lot of foot stomps, there's a lot of haze, so you know, there's lots to join in with. So it's a great live show.
Yeah. Well, we can't wait for that. We hope obviously that your shows for North America will be announced soon, and otherwise we'll just have to come to Europe to see you play on your own tour or festivals. Well, you know, Bobbie, thank you so much for sharing a little bit, you know, what's behind this album and the exciting times ahead. I had a lot of fun with the album, and I can't wait for more people to discover you on your journey. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.